Hey everybody! It is Wednesday, so that means it is time for our second stream of the week. So, where we left off last time was we just finished the joining ritual. It was very exciting and traumatic. But, we came through with flying colors because we're just awesome like that. And we, had just got our mission from Duncan, that we went to the meeting with the king, and he said that he wanted River and Alistair to go light the beacon to signal Logain's troops when it was time to charge. So we left off just as we were about to start the Battle of Ostagar. So this is where we're going to start this time, and I hope that we are having less technical difficulties this time. So I did some testing to try and make sure that the sound was balancing and coming through the way that it should, and therefore hopefully it's okay. So, oh, and I do want to show you one super cool thing. So I have a design that I have a site on a shop on Redbubble where my designs are able to be bought on, like, coffee cups and t-shirts and stickers and all kinds of cool things. And I was able to I finally had a chance to order one of the shirts with my design on it, and it came in the mail, and it was so cool because I was like, that's my thing that I made. But this is it, so I have to show you because I think it's cool. Seal your heart, the dawn will come. One of my favorite parts of Dragon Age Inquisition, which we will no doubt play, and I just realized I forgot to shut this door. So I'm going to do that so we don't have weird mirror reflection the entire time that I'm filming. So nobody needs to see in my bathroom. It's just not necessary. So anyway, I had to show you the shirt. It's really cool. I'm excited. Hey, how you doing? Hopefully the sound is better this time. I tested it, I swear. So if it's messed up this time, like, I did a bunch of recordings and checked it. So if it's messed up this time, I don't know. It's gremlins. So anyway, let us get underway. Oh, good. I'm glad it's better. Thanks. So we shall get underway and head off to the Tower of Ishal with Alistair. And first I'm going to throw some points in here, which I should have done prior to starting, except for I forgot. Oh no, I had extra ones that I didn't want to use quite yet. That's what it was with her. But the dog has a bunch of points because we didn't have him earlier, so we'll give the dog some more strength and dexterity and a little more health. Why not? And Alistair can have more strength and cunning so that he can get more slots for tactics, which is always a good thing. So we'll put that in there, and we will give him a tactic slot and the ability to taunt, which is always a good thing for any warrior to have, especially when you are playing the squishy rogue that doesn't like getting hit and stands in the back. So we shall let him learn how to taunt. And onward and upward. We see that Duncan has already left to go join the rest of the wardens in battle. And I'm going to not do the thing that I did before, and before I start running off to play, I'm going to actually remember to switch the screen. I will get the hang of this, I swear. Hey! There we are. There's Alistair. Hi, Alistair. Okay. Let us be on our way. So there were some chests and things that I didn't bother to explore and pick up the first time that we came around because my pockets were full, but to be honest, we're not really missing anything. It's a few odds and ends, pieces of armor, and I mean, I know elf fruit, but oh, cutscene. Very exciting. I just love this cutscene. It does such a good job of setting that feeling of tension, of like getting ready to start the
The plan
battle.
will work, Your Majesty.
Of course it will. The blight ends here.
Ew.
Archers! Hounds! For Ferelden! Let's cross the bridge and get to the Tower of Ishal.
Yeah, the Tower of Ishal, which just got hit with a big rock and had the top of it kind of smashed, but that's okay. Yeah, anyway, I just... that cutscene, I don't care how many times I see it, every single time, it just... By the end of it, I'm just so like, wound up, like, oh my god! You know, I just love it. It's done so well. The way that you see the reaction of the soldiers, especially the one soldier that you can tell is seeing this huge army of monsters coming towards him, and is like, oh, I'm gonna nope out of this. And the guy behind him is like, it's too late for that, pal. You know, and yeah, it's just so powerful, and I love it. So anyway, here we are. Alistair and I up on the bridge while everybody... Oh, autosave. We know what that means. While everybody down there is fighting. And up here we have archers trying to pick people off too. And so let's head across the bridge. Oh. It's a storm. Yikes! Trying not to get hit by... Ah! Oh, sorry, archers.
You should never have come.
They were too busy looking out for their target to notice that they were about to get hit with a giant flaming rock. That's not a good thing. Alright, so let us go to the Tower of Ishal.
They're everywhere.
Uh-oh!
You're Grey Wardens, aren't you? The tower, it's been taken.
What are you talking about, man? Taken how?
The Darkspawn came up through the lower chambers. They're everywhere. Most of our men are dead.
Then we have to get to the beacon and light it ourselves.
So much for that chill babysitting the beacon mission that we thought we were getting sent on. Well, let's go. So we've got our new pal, the mage here, that's going to come along with us. And see what happens. Oh look, it's monsters. Let's shoot them. Die, monster!
This is it!
this is the danger of this place, and another, it's another one of those places where there's a lot of enemies spread out. So if you're not controlling your party members well, they will run off and get themselves into trouble. Unless you're playing on easy mode, like I am. And I'm not sorry. This is a good time to reiterate what I've said before, which is the point of playing a game is to have fun. Oh, poor soldier. The point of playing a game is to have fun. So if you have fun on Nightmare Hardcore mode and you want to be the biggest badass ever in history, and that's how you like to play, then you go. You know, you do you. Rock that. And get it done. But if you enjoy playing on, you know, casual mode because you like the story, or you like to play a little bit at a time, you like to play an hour a day, or whatever the case is, however you like to play, whatever is fun for you, that's the right way for you to play. It's okay. You know, I spent a lot of time. I used to be a manager for a GameStop store way back in the way back, and it was during the time that there was still very much the idea that women didn't play games, and you know, I played World of Warcraft and stuff back in that time, and everyone always joked that if someone said that they were a girl, it was an acronym for guy in real life, because women didn't actually play games, which of course was garbage. And during that time when I was working at GameStop, I got a lot of, you know, the guys coming in and saying, looking at me, even though I was, you know, assistant manager, then manager of the store, looking at me and going, yeah, is there anybody here that actually plays games? Because obviously I wouldn't be someone who actually plays games. I just work at a game store because reasons? I don't know. I don't know what their thought process was there. I'm gonna assume that there wasn't one. So I got a lot of that. And because of that, I always had this kind of feeling like, you know, I had to prove that I was as good of a gamer as the guys were. I had to prove that I wasn't, you know, just a noob that didn't know how to do anything. And so I always felt, go Alistair, go get him. Don't let him hit me, I don't like it. Ah, they're hitting me. I stun you, haha.
You or me, and it isn't going to be me.
It isn't gonna be me.
You had it coming.
Yeah, so I always had this feeling that I had to prove that I was a good gamer, you know, that I could be good at games. I would get really aggravated at people at girls in MMOs who would use being a girl to be like, oh, I don't know what to do. Oh, I don't have enough stuff. Man, it would be great if somebody gave me stuff, or, you know, did this thing for me, and I freaking hated that. I still kind of freaking hate that, because, you know, if you need help, ask for help, but don't do it because you're like, oh, I'm a girl, I can't do it for myself.
It's either you or
Whatever.
me, and it isn't going
But,
to be
yeah, so during that time, I always felt like, you know, I had to prove myself. You know, I had to prove on behalf of all women everywhere that we were capable of being gamers.
Let's get started.
And so for a long time, I didn't ever want to play anything on casual or easy mode, even though my favorite thing about games is story. That is why I play games. You know, the Dark Souls kind of experience where you know, the purpose of playing the game is to see how many minutes you can go in a row without dying. It's not for me. I don't enjoy it. And
Right.
so even though that's the case, for a long time, if I was going to pick, you know, an easier mode or a casual mode, I felt like, oh, I can't do that. I felt guilty. Like, oh, I'm letting down my gender by playing on easy mode. And, you know, I got a little bit older. And the one good thing about getting older is that you get to a point where you're like, you know what? Don't care. Somebody wants to be like, oh, what a noob. You know, if that's what they want to think, they can just knock themselves right out with that and go on with their life, and it affects me not at all. So yeah, so especially now when I'm streaming and I have a lot of other things to keep track of, I am definitely playing on easy mode, and I'm not sorry, because it's especially being new to streaming, it's really difficult for me to get the hang of remembering to do everything and watch the chat and make sure everything, you know, all the stuff is going through. So it is definitely easier for me to do that. This is one time where changing subjects. I've said before that I don't do a lot of micromanaging on my playthroughs. This is one spot where I tend to, because this area, these shifty darkspawn, these unusually clever monsters that are supposed to be stupid, have set up this gauntlet ahead. Maybe we can assume that it was the soldiers that were here. The monsters are just taking advantage of it. But there are a bunch of traps, and it's kind of set up to lead all your people across the room through these, like, fire and all kinds of bad stuff. So I like to try and see if I can pull anybody back here without sending my...
Trap.
Yeah, trap. Without sending my people to their doom. Alright, so... now they can come up here. Come on, guys! I have untrapped the trap. Kill this one. He's a jerk.
Take that!
Yeah, take that!
Time for some fun.
Kill this one first, because he's closer.
You had it coming.
Alright, they did have it coming. Let's not go too far in there, though. After this, oh, our
You're mine.
mage friend bit it, so we'll have to wait for him to pop back up. One of the things that does tend to happen, that is a mechanic in the game, is once all the enemies are gone and you're out of combat, anybody that is croakified in the battle will come back to life, generally. Must not think we're out of combat yet, because... ah, there we go. Good job. Way to look out for yourself there, pal. We should probably take this opportunity to check his tactics. So, mage, unnamed mage, mage number 3 in the credits. Let's see what kind of skills he has. Can he heal? No, he cannot. He can do some buffing and some debuffing, primarily. So we will set him on... sorry, my nose is itchy. We're going to set him on ranged behavior so he stays away from the dudes who are trying to attack him. And we're going to set him to be a controller, by which his tactics... you can set custom tactics, you can always change them, but there are some presets that kind of set it up automatically for you, where, you know, if you want a certain character to be a healer, or to be a tank, whatever, it'll recommend what it thinks are the skills that you'd want to have. So in this case, we're going to set him up to be a controller, which means that he will try to stop bad guys from being able to move, primarily. So that is what he is going to do. And I'm not going to take time to set anything up more involved than that. This should be this. And this should be that. And this should be that. Alright. And that's good enough for now. So yeah, like I've said before, I'm not big on micromanaging. I know I'm repeating myself. But
As you wish.
that's one of the things I like about the tactic system, is that you can kind of set it up on the fly, and if you have something later where you for instance, if you get another rogue in your party and it's somebody that you're not playing actively, like well, we won't spoil it, but you get another rogue in your party, you can set them to have an automatic behavior where if there's a trap, they will go and disarm it, which is very handy because your melee characters, especially Alistair, seem to delight in rushing to the nearest trap and running directly through it. So that is not helpful behavior on their part. So this is one of those times where I know that the next room is filled with bad guys, so we're gonna have Alistair open the door instead of me. Oh look, bad guys. Who could have seen that coming? Yep, he saw that there were bad guys coming up from behind us too, so...
Let's get started.
Alright. Don't hit my dog! That's just animal abuse.
Is it just me? Or do
You know,
actually think you have a
being nasty monsters is one thing, but hitting dogs is just taking it too far. Darkspawn. It's not okay. Alright. One thing that I have always felt about the Tower of Ishal here is that the tower, we can assume, was fine prior to this battle starting, right? Everything was meant to be good to go. The men here were manning the tower, waiting to light beacons and all that kind of stuff, right? And then, in the course of time that it took us to basically run across the bridge, those dudes, the dudes that greeted us, came running out going, "Ah, the tower's been taken, oh no!" And, so, presumably this just happened, right? We get in here, though, and we've got, like, Darkspawn having nasty grossness everywhere. And okay, well, maybe that was a massacre that they just did, okay? But as we go on, we're gonna go in here. We'll start seeing more things that are like, how did they do this in 10 minutes? I just don't see it. Nothing over here. We've got this, which is a ingredient for crafting. I mean, yes, in theory, we are robbing the fine soldiers who were stationed here, but something tells me they won't be back for these things. This item, you will note, is a gift item, which is something that we will be able to give our companions at a later point. I mean, I could give this to Alistair right now, but you can give it to them to increase their approval. I think now is not really a time for gift giving, unless my inventory gets really full. So for now, we'll just hang on to it. I do have a mod that shows who the gift is meant for, because normally in the game it just says this is a gift, and it doesn't really give you a clue who it's for, and different party members will respond more positively to certain gifts than they will to others. So you can give party members the gifts that are not meant for them, which is not a good idea if you can avoid it, because if it's something that gives a lot of approval with one person and not so much with the other one, you want to make sure that you're being the most effective way, doing it the most effectively you can. Alright, onward. Oh look! I guess that's where the Darkspawn came from. Bummer. And that, okay, I could see they you know, blew a hole in the floor, they used magic or whatever, and that's everything else looks, you know, like, okay. And like I said, in the first room we could assume, okay, maybe they, the soldiers had it set up that way already, and the Darkspawn are just taking advantage of it. Then, that in here.
This should be easy enough. Come now, defend yourself.
Come now, defend yourself.
Excellent.
Then you start to get in here and you start to see these sort of totem areas set up by the Darkspawn, which is sort of a characteristic of their decor, I guess. I really don't recommend it. I would not use the interior designer that they went with. I feel like it's just a really bad aesthetic overall. But, anyway, yeah, so these things, like, this is super gross, so, you know, I don't believe they had time to do all that stuff. I feel like, you know, the designers were like, yeah, let's set an aesthetic to show that the area is overrun. And it's like, okay, but logically speaking. How, though?
Maker's breath. What are these Darkspawn doing ahead of the rest of the Horde? There wasn't supposed to be any resistance here.
This is a great time to be sarcastic. You could try telling them they're in the wrong place.
Right, because clearly this is all just a misunderstanding. We'll laugh about this later. At any rate, we need to hurry. We need to get up to the top of the tower and light the signal fire in time. Taron Loghain will be waiting for the signal.
So yeah, we're seeing here that they've decorated the room with heads on pikes. It should be noted, I think this is obvious since this is a 10-year-old game at this point, but it is an M-rated game, as you may have noticed from all the various body parts and guts strewn around. It's an M-rated game for other reasons besides that, but we won't get into those for a ways down the road, alas. Anyway, so this next area, as we can tell from the map, is a very long room, and I happen to know from experience that there are guys on this end of it, and if you go into it, it's really good way to have to run down this whole long area with them shooting at you, which is not fun. But if you go this way, yeah, see all this? I don't see it. We go this way first. More accurately, we have Alistair go this way first.
More Darkspawn.
Yes, who could have seen that coming?
Let's fight even more dying, blast you!
So yes,
Stay down.
Right.
if we go this way, then we will come out at the end of this big long hallway.
On it.
There are no bad guys right here. We have a book over here. Let's see what we have. The History of the Chantry, Chapter 1. Well, we're not in an urgent moment here. Nothing speed sensitive, time sensitive going on. So let's take a moment to read this codex entry. I'm sure Taron Loghain will wait. So, The History of the Chantry, Chapter 1. The first blight devastated the Tevinter Imperium. Not only had the Darkspawn ravaged the countryside, but Tevinter citizens had to face the fact that their own gods had turned against them. Dumat, the old god once known as the Dragon of Silence, had risen to silence the world, and despite their frenzied pleas for help, the other old gods did nothing. The people of the Imperium began to question their faith, murdering priests and burning temples to punish their gods for not returning to help. In those days, even after the devastation of the First Blight, the Imperium stretched across the known world. Fringed with barbarian tribes, the Imperium was well prepared for invasions and attacks from without. Fitting, then, that the story of its downfall begins from within. The people of the far northern and eastern reaches of the Imperium rose up against their powerful overlords in rebellion. The Tevinter Magisters summoned demons to put down these small rebellions, leaving corpses to burn as examples to all who would dare revolt. The Imperium began to tear itself apart from within, throngs of angry and disillusioned citizens doing what centuries of opposing armies could not. But the Magisters were confident in their power, and they could not imagine surviving a blight only to be destroyed by their own subjects. Even after the blight, Tevinter commanded an army larger than that of any other organized nation in Thedas, but that army was scattered and its morale dwindling. The ruin of Tevinter was such that the Alamari barbarians, who had spread their clans and holds over the wilderness of the Ferelden Valley at the far southeast edge of the Imperium, saw weakness in their enemy, and after an age of oppression, embarked on a campaign not only to free their own lands, but to bring down mighty Tevinter as well. The leaders of that blessed campaign were the great barbarian warlord Maferath and his wife Andraste. Their dreams and ambitions would change the world forever. From Tales of the Destruction of Thedas by Brother Genitivi, who's awesome. I just love Brother Genitivi. He's one of the people that, if Thedas was real and I could pick some people to talk to, he'd make the list, because he's just interesting to me. Alright, so, we've read a book. The Darkspawn down there, I'm sure, are fine with waiting. So, moving on, we shall open this chest. But the next thing that we'll note is that there are ballista right here. So this is fun, because we can move up to these and shoot them. Take that, you jerks. Of course, we do have to be careful because we can, you know, hit our own guys as well, which is not great, but...
Let's get started.
So many!
There's so many! That's okay. We got this.
Let's make this quick!
Let's make this quick! I'm working on it, Alistair. I'm doing my best. Alright, we did miss a side room over here before we head on down that way. It's so yucky. It's just unnecessary, Darkspawn. I mean, really, it's just unnecessary. At the risk of sounding typically girly, I am not a big fan of the excessive blood and guts. I mean, I think a little bit of it gets the point across. I'm not opposed to showing injury, but I don't need to play Quentin Tarantino the game, you know?
As you wish.
It's just, I get it. They're dying. They're bleeding. It's terrible. I don't need to see it everywhere to get the message.
Let's get started.
We've already started. What do you mean, let's get started? Okay, so, oops, we missed one. So those were the ballista, but we missed a guy to loot, and we cannot have that. I mean, yes, I know this whole battle thing is kind of important, but I might miss out on 52 copper. Not acceptable. Not okay. I might need that 52 copper later. So, onward. Oh, I should have let Alistair go first. That's okay. I'll back up, and then he can go first.
On them! Take that!
He's big and strong, and he can handle it. Don't hit my dog!
Do you actually think you have a chance? You had it coming.
They did have it coming. I missed!
Cut them down!
Terrible. Alright, good job, guys. Oh, look, a mushroom. It always amuses me, and I think I probably have said this before, but it always amuses me the sort of give and take between realism and fun to play. You know? Just like, if this were really the case, that, you know, you had to take this tower back and you had to hurry up and rush to the top so that you were saving everyone, that kind of thing, you would cut people down as fast as you could and pass them and move up to the top.
Right.
But if you did that in a game, you would miss all the loot, and very soon you would find yourself broke and not be able to buy any armor, which would be problematic. So it's always kind of a balance between, like, yes, I know I should be hurrying, but I might miss a deep mushroom.
Loghain better be ready to charge as soon as we light the signal. The king is depending on us.
I know, Alistair, you are correct. And see, here we go again with the grossness. Apparently they do really fast work, these Darkspawn. And also, these guys apparently disintegrated into bones. They experienced full decomp in the course of 20 minutes.
As you wish.
I don't think so. Not to criticize the game. I love the game. It's just, you know, one of those things that you find and go, yeah, I don't know about that. Alright, so we are on the 3rd floor of the Tower of Ishal. We have to make our way around this way and up to the 4th floor, because it's a tower, and that's what you do. So, oh.
Darkspawn approach. Watch for their blood.
Yeah, good idea.
No mercy. On your guard. As you wish. All
right. Good job, mage. Once I set your tactics, you didn't rush headlong into death quite so much. Or haven't yet, anyway. The night is still young. Alright.
As you wish.
So...
Let's get started.
a great iron longsword, which we do not need. But if we don't run out of room, we'll keep it and sell it. Okay, Alistair. Very dangerous. You go first. To quote... what is it? Indiana Jones, I think? Yeah. Alright. Now, the fun thing about this room is one of the places where I will run ahead because there's a switch here that we can use to let out these Mabari hounds, and they will help us because they think these guys are jerks too. They have good taste, the Mabari.
Let's get started.
Hey, Barkspawn leveled up. Let's give him a little more health and some more strength. We'll give him... this one's kind of nice because it is, in effect, it is a, like a stun, because basically it knocks the enemy down, so it can't attack until it gets back up, which is nice. Anything that makes it so the bad guys can't hit you, I am generally a fan of. Codex updated. What did we update? Oh, we're learning about the various types of Darkspawn. So Genlock, which we were just fighting, are the most common Darkspawn in the underground. Stocky and tough, Genlocks are notoriously difficult to kill, even by magic. And so there are the basic Genlocks, but then we also see Genlock Alphas. Each of the Darkspawn kind of have separate types. Alphas and emissaries are common to them, and it's basically some of their sort of lieutenants, in a way. So alphas, in any group of Genlocks, there's usually one who is dominant. As the tallest, strongest, and smartest of their kind, alphas serve as a sort of commander, directing or bullying the others in combat. Bullying isn't nice, Genlocks. Just say no to bullying. Genlock emissaries, the most intelligent of the alphas, become gifted sorcerers, with many abilities akin to blood magic. These are the emissaries, and they usually only appear during a blight. And big, gross, nasty monsters are bad enough, but big, gross, nasty monsters who can shoot fireballs at you, it's just excessive, and I think thoroughly unnecessary. We also have seen a lot of Hurlocks. Taller than their Genlock cousins, the Hurlocks are roughly of human size, but are possessed of considerable strength and constitution. The shock troop of the Darkspawn, a single berserking Hurlock, can often be a match for numerous opponents at once. They are known to adorn themselves with roughly carved tattoos to keep track of their kills and deeds, though it is unknown whether or not there is a uniform standard to these markings. And they also have alphas and emissaries. Alpha Hurlocks are more intelligent and more skilled fighters, often serving as commanders or even generals, and Hurlock emissaries have also been known to appear during a blight. These Darkspawn are the only ones recorded as being capable of human speech and are often capable of employing magic. That being said, we don't, for the most part, encounter any Darkspawn that actually talk. It's a very unusual thing. Most people don't believe that that is a thing that can happen, because Darkspawn generally not much for chatting. Yeah, we're good for now on that. So, alright. We'll loot these guys over here. Some poison ingredients. Good job, Mabari.
This should be easy enough.
A shield and some silver. And there's a chest over here. War Paint of the Wolfhound. Now this is an item for, basically an armor item for Barkspawn, for the Mabari in the party. there are a couple of party members that have unique types of armor. They can't use regular armor, and for obvious reasons. So Barkspawn being one of them, he gets war paint. Like when we were talking to the Ash Warrior at the beginning, and he talked about how they paint their hounds with caddis so that the hounds and the warriors are, the hounds feel a kinship with the warriors. They see them as part of the same, group. And so in this case, the war paint is essentially armor for the dogs. It gives them certain bonuses. This one gives him a bonus damage versus beasts, which is not that great, but it's the only one we have right now, so that is what he gets. I could probably check our mage friend and see what he's got going on. Maybe I could give him something to wear that is not as terrible. He's got a staff, and I don't think I have any other staves for him. So you can stick with that, and I don't... Now we could give him some boots. Help him live a little longer. I believe it is set up... There was an issue at one point where it did not... you wouldn't get stuff back if your party member bid it. But if it was like a temporary party member and they croaked, you would not get their stuff back. But I believe that is fixed. And if not, well, that's what console commands are for. Alright, so he's got something that's gonna serve him a little bit better here. We will give him a better amulet, and we will give him a spell power belt and a ring. Why not? I don't think we have any gloves for him. No, not at this time. But I should note here, since he died at the beginning, and I should have taken care of this earlier, too busy talking, since he, croaked out in that beginning battle, so he got all gung-ho and ran into some guys that he shouldn't have, he has an injury. And that means that he has a penalty to Constitution until he is healed up. So there are two ways that you can get rid of an injury. One is to rest, which you would do at like a party camp or certain other places that you go that are safe. Or you can use an injury kit, which you find with your health poultices. So we will use that on him. And I don't know if that actually applied. Let's see. No, it didn't. I'll put it down here and do it like that. There we go. So now his injury is gone and he is not limping around on one foot, or whatever the case may be. So, alright, moving on. So these Mabari that we let out are going to be kind enough to stick with us as long as they're within a certain range. So Alistair is going to go down this hall and open this door. And surprise! There are more bad guys. Oh, and they're coming down the hall too, those sneaky jerks. Now if I pull them this way a little bit, Mabari will come and attack them for us. Because Mabari are awesome. If you want to be a Ferelden, the most important thing to learn is that Mabari are awesome. And Orlesians are not.
How about you? On it.
Alright. Good job, dogs. So yeah, if you get those dogs out, they do a lot of help in this area, and that's always fun. Because as much as I talk about not being all hardcore into the combat, I
This should
do
be
have a
easy
thing for
enough.
being efficient about the combat when possible. Because then I can get further in the story. I can
As
get to
you
the
wish.
next story bit faster if I can get through the combat efficiently. Which makes it sound like I don't enjoy the combat at all, which is not true. It's still obviously fun to, you know, fight in the battles, beat the bad guys, all that kind of jazz. But less so for me than the what happens next kind of thing, the story. So, you know, everybody has their own preferences there. That is the way that I tend to lean. And that is why, on my stream, you will see me reading codex entries and talking about the history of Tevinter and things like that, and not talking about the theory of why I am putting my stat points into one thing and not another thing, you know? There are lots of people who do streams like that, and it's very cool, and I have used them on occasion, and you learn quite a lot from it, but it's not my strength. So, alright. Oh good, we have an injury kit to replace the one we just used. Alright, I'm gonna check and make sure that I don't have any additional points. Oh, I do, look at that. Let's put one there. And we'll put a couple in Constitution because I don't like dying. And we'll go from there. And I'm going to take improved combat training now because, see, taking trap making is tempting because it makes it so that you can disarm traps more effectively and notice them more effectively. But a lot of abilities that you can take require a certain level of combat training in order to take them, so that is what we're going to go with this time. And now we can use those points that we saved because we can take our next abilities here. So we've got activated ability, activated, and sustained. So I think I'm going to go with, let's see, I'm going to go with this one because it has a shorter cooldown and I don't have a lot of abilities yet. So, and it's a debuff in addition to, they both deal normal damage. They both have sort of a different debuff. This one weakens their armor. This one reduces their attack and defense. So we're going to go with that this time. Actually, you know, we can get them both. Why not? Why not both, as per the meme? Okay. Alright. So now we have 2 more abilities. I'm going to move this one down here because it's a sustained ability. I like to keep things separate a little bit here. We're going to put this melee one right there. We've got pinning shot, crippling shot, and shattering. Actually, I tend to like to keep my abilities in groups so that it's easy to see at a glance what is where, and keep track of what I have going on, you know? So I don't have to fumble around and be like, wait, where's the ranged ability? Where's the melee ability? Alright.
Armed and dangerous. Ready for action.
Ready for action.
There's so many!
Let's get started.
There's not that many, dude. There's only a few. It's gonna be okay. Or a little bit longer. Then it will probably not be okay. But for now, it's okay. Alright. So, what do we have here? We have a longsword that we don't need. We have a health poultice. And we have our faithful Mabari pals that followed us down the hallway. Yuck. We have a big nasty smear of blood.
As you wish.
And we have some fire arrows, which I can probably equip. Except for not where we're looking right at that, because yuck. Let's see. Some arrows are... Oh, I could use Brigand's bow now, but I think... Does a little bit more damage. has a little higher crit chance and penetration and slightly more range. So I think I will go with that, even though the Phoenix Eye has a little bit more damage and reduced aim time, which is very nice. The other one has better bonuses. And this is actually a DLC item. So I'm going to switch to that one. And I'm going to add some... See, if these are for crossbow, and we do not have any crossbows currently. And I'm going to go ahead and put that in there, I think. And we're going to give Alistair the other bow just to clear up room. He's not going to use it, mind you, because he's our tank and he must be in the front being a badass. But okay, so there's that. Why is my... I'm going to have to look at my armor pieces later because I should have an armor set bonus, and I think it's because I have one piece that's from a different mod than the others, so I think it's not counting, so I'll have to fix that later. But anyway, that's fine. So next we are going to go up these stairs right here to the top floor of the tower. And before I do that, I should note that there is going to be a string of cutscenes and all kinds of crazy things happening after we get to the top of the tower. And there is a mod that I have added here, which is super awesome, extremely well done by some really cool people. And it is called the Rescue at Ishal. And it's done by, I believe, Sarah Kuzland and Andrastini, who is just the super most sweet person ever. And they did this to sort of fill in a gap. And once we get past it, it will become clear what kind of gap you're talking about. But for the tools that you have and for doing this kind of work, you know, for free in their free time, it's just amazing what some of the modders can do. It so much enriches the game to me, which is why I don't understand why why some game companies are so resistant to modding. Because if you think about it, especially if you look at something like Skyrim or like this game, for instance, there are still mods being made for this game, and it is 10 years old. Over 10 years old now. You know, being able to mod a game adds so much to its lifespan, and when you do that, you have people going, oh, my friend is still playing that game. I never tried it. Maybe I should try it. So you're basically extending the amount of time you can sell this game. So to me, it just is commercially good sense to make a game that is able to be modded. You know, and I think that sometimes companies are afraid that if they make their game able to be modded, that people will, you know, that they won't be able to sell DLC because people will just make mods for it. But the thing is, when you have people that are so involved in the game that they want to mod it, those are also usually the people that like the game enough that if there's something that comes out for it, they're probably going to get it. So to me, it seems like a no-brainer, but I guess I'm not a game executive, so... Alright, so, are we ready to go? Are we ready to go to the top of the tower? Go light the beacon? I'm sure it will be completely fine up there. We won't run into any trouble at all. Let's go. Shall we? Alright. Very exciting. Uh-oh. Ew. Gross. That is a lot of saliva. Alright, so needless to say, we need to kill this guy. As you can see, his name is in orange, which means he is a much tougher enemy than normal. He's a boss. We've seen some, the average dude's name is in white. You have some lieutenants that are in yellow, and the big bads are in orange, which lets us know that they are going to try really hard to kick our butt. And we are going to try really hard to make that not happen. But before I really get involved in this, I'm going to look around and see that there's a few things that I can loot over there, for reasons that will become clear. Go, guys!
Take that!
On it.
This is another one of those moments that are different in a game than... Oh, look at the mage. She's over there rocking it out, man. It's like, that's okay. You guys go ahead and loot. I'll just hold him. No worries. Uh-oh. Run! Run, little mage!
Now, quarter! Here we go!
I should probably have Alistair taunt, but it's okay, because he's dead now.
The beacon is over here.
Alright. So he has a shield that we can pick up that's called Havard's Aegis. I think that's how you pronounce that word. It's one of those words that I've read a lot and heard not a lot. So, Aegis? I don't know. Anyway, that is interesting because I think we'll get a
Surely
codex
missed
entry.
the signal. Let's light it quickly before it's too late.
Yes, we will do that as soon as I get out of this nasty blood pool and read this codex entry about Havard's Aegis. So, in the lore of the beginning of the Chantry, you have Maferath, who was... Did we get another Chantry, History of the Chantry codex entry since we started that? We did not. I don't think. No, not yet. So, in the beginning of the Chantry, you had we just learned that you had the warlord, the Alamari warlord Maferath, and his wife Andraste, who were leading this rebellion against Tevinter. So, Havard was Maferath's closest friend. They were children together in the same Avar clan. They fought side by side in so many battles that Maferath dubbed him Havard the Aegis. Better to have at his side than any shield, or Aegis, whichever you prefer. I'm sure that one of them is right and the other one sounds really stupid, but here we are. Maferath brought Havard with him to meet with the Tevinters. It was unthinkable to stand before his enemies without Havard. And this is when, which we'll learn later on, they had this very successful battle against the Tevinter, very successful campaign against the Tevinter, in large part because Andraste was able to spread the message of the Maker, because she had visions of this, the Alamari, the Tevinter gods were not answering. Their main god was ravaging the countryside and killing everyone, and then they, finally ended that. But at this point, so the Tevinter gods were gone, were not answering anyone. The Alamari had gods that were sort of nature-oriented, like gods of the mountain, Korth the Mountain Father, and the Lady of the Skies, all this kind of thing. But when Andraste was praying to them for relief because her people were getting captured and enslaved by Tevinter, she got no response. But she did get a response from the Maker, which was another, the according to the Chantry, real deity, the one god, the Maker, so on and so forth. The analogs with Christianity are so subtle that it's really hard to notice them at all, except for, obviously, that's not true. So yeah, anyway, so she was spreading the word of this, and she was the Maker's prophet, and they had, in their battles, she drew all these people to them, and they were, inspired by her and joined the army to fight against Tevinter. And as this progressed, and I'm sure we'll get the codex entry about this later, and it'll say it a lot more concisely and better, but the further that they went on, the more that Maferath realized that the army, all of his people were fighting for Andraste, not for him. They loved her more than they loved him, and she was also known. The other part of the deal was that the Maker loved Andraste such that he had offered to make her his bride. To take her up into the wherever, and take her away from all this. And she said, no, I want to save my people, and convinced him to try and help them with this whole fight against Tevinter situation. And so Maferath grew jealous, according to the Chantry's history. And so when they finally reached the gates of Minrathous, which was the capital of Tevinter, they stood before the gates, but Andraste was not with them, because in secret Maferath had met with the leaders of Tevinter and betrayed Andraste, given her over to them so that they could basically kill her. And in exchange, he and the Alamari were given all the lands south of the Waking Sea. And other accounts say that he did this because he was concerned that they wouldn't actually be able to win, that they would dash against the walls of Tevinter until all of their people were wiped out for no purpose. But it's, far enough in history that the accounts are kind of blurred, so it's really hard to say what the truth is. But anyway, so Havard was Maferath's friend. He brought him with him to meet with the leaders of Tevinter. When Havard understood what Maferath was doing, that he was giving Andraste over to be executed, unwilling to draw swords against his friend and liege, he placed himself between Andraste and the Tevinter soldiers. So he didn't attack Maferath, but he placed himself between Andraste and the people that were coming to try to take her. The Tevinters struck him down, and Maferath left him for dead. But he was not so easily destroyed. Havard lived and made his way gravely wounded to the gates of Minrathous to stop the execution, but he was too late. He found only the ashes of the prophet, left to the wind and rain. When his fingers touched the ash, his ears filled with song, and he saw a vision of Andraste dressed in cloth of starlight. She knelt at his side, saying, "Rise, Aegis of the Faith. The Maker shall never forget you so long as I remember." His wounds healed instantly, and with new strength, Havard gathered up Andraste's remains and carried them safely back to the lands of the Alamari. So, a character noted for his loyalty, and that's his defining characteristic. So, anyway, I guess we should light that beacon now, the one that we raced up here to light. So, here we go. Cutscenes incoming. So here we go.
Sound the retreat.
What about the king? Should we not...
Do as I command.
Pull out! All of you, let's move!
That was not the plan, sir. Whew. Right? So, yeah, the bit... Oh.
Ah, your eyes finally open. Mother shall be pleased.
The bit from where Duncan sees the Darkspawn coming toward him with the axe raised, looks up, sees that the beacon was lit, and yet no army came to help them, and the Darkspawn comes and takes him out. And between that and now was all that mod that I mentioned before, and it just blows me away. It does such a great job at sort of underlining the gravity of the whole situation, showing that Alistair was, as a protector type character, was trying to see if his only remaining fellow Grey Warden, Positron in the chat says, I was wondering because I don't remember any of that. And yeah, it is not in the base game, but it is that mod, which is really well done. And I love the way that it sort of shows the viciousness of the battle, the aftermath of the battle, shows Alistair trying with his, last bit of strength to try and protect his fellow Grey Warden, and, running out of hope and consciousness, and then Flemeth turning up to take them away. And at this point in the story, it is somewhat of a spoiler to see that Flemeth was there as or with a dragon, or whatever the case may be. But it is very clear when you first meet her that she is far more than she seems, so I feel like it's an acceptable amount of spoilering. So anyway, we are back here, and we're conscious again, talking to Morrigan. And I did manage to figure out what was going on with my textures from the last time, why she looked plastic and blind. So got that taken care of, thankfully. So anyway, so she said, your eyes finally open. What happened to the Darkspawn?
You were injured, and then Mother rescued you. Do you not remember?
Wait, what happened to the army? To the king?
The man who was to respond to your signal quit the field. The Darkspawn won your battle. Those he abandoned were massacred. Your friend, he is not taking it well.
My friend? You mean Alistair?
The suspicious dim-witted one who was with you before, yes.
Rude.
He is outside by the fire. Mother asked to see you when you awoke.
Were my injuries severe?
Yes, but I expect you shall be fine. The Darkspawn did nothing Mother could not heal.
What about Alistair? Is he all right?
He is, as you are. I suppose it would be unkind to say he is being childish.
Very unkind. Those were his friends.
And you think they would encourage his blubbering? If so, they are not the sort of Grey Wardens the legends note.
Oh, yeah. So, why does your mother want to see me?
I do not know. She rarely tells me her plans.
Truer words, Morrigan. Truer words were never spoken. I have some questions, if you don't mind.
I do not mind. Take your time.
Are we safe here? Where are the Darkspawn?
We are safe, for the moment. Mother's magic keeps the Darkspawn away. Once you leave, 'tis uncertain what will happen. The Horde has moved on, so you might avoid it.
Why did your mother save us?
I wonder at that myself. But she tells me nothing. Perhaps you were the only ones she could reach. I would have rescued your king. A king would be worth a much higher ransom than you.
Nice. One that you only get with certain origins. I happen to be nobility, you know.
I stand corrected.
That's right. How did she manage to rescue us exactly?
She turned into a giant bird and plucked the two of you from atop the tower, one in each talon. If you do not believe that tale, then I suggest you ask Mother yourself. She may even tell you.
So much sarcasm. Are there any survivors besides us?
Only stragglers that are long gone. You would not want to see what is happening in that valley now.
Why? What's happening?
Are you sure you want me to describe it?
I wouldn't have asked if I didn't.
I had a good view of the battlefield. 'Tis a grisly scene. There are bodies everywhere, and darkspawn swarm them, feeding, I think. They also look for survivors and drag them back down beneath the ground. I cannot say why.
So those survivors could be rescued?
If you are willing to run into the midst of the horde, perhaps.
Why did Terran Logain abandon the king?
I do not know who this Logain even is. Perhaps ask Mother of it.
I think I've asked enough questions.
I agree. 'Tis time you speak with Mother, then be on your way.
All right. So, we're magically dressed. That's one that always gets me. Is, I am not running... there's a mod that is commonly used that is called Natural Bodies, which basically makes it so that instead of the odd little underwear situation they have going on, it is obviously an adult mod, so I think it is pretty clear what that does at that point from that description, and makes it so they're not in their strange little underwear in scenes where that's reasonable. And I, needless to say, turned that off prior to starting this stream because I did not want to start off and immediately get banned. But it is extra weird when you wake up in that bed in your lack of underwear and just sit there and chit chat for a minute and then are magically dressed. It's a little strange. The mods are awesome, but occasionally they do tend to lead to some weird moments of like, that wasn't supposed to go like that. So let's
Right.
get some things out of the chest here. We've got some tomes. These are handy because they give you different things. The Mortal Vessel gives you points for attributes, and Arcane Technique is for mages, of which we have none at the moment yet. And some mage robes. So we're going to go ahead and take all that stuff. And I'm going to use the tome on myself because I'm selfish. And as soon as I see where it is, okay, here we go. And now I have a point, and I also leveled, so we're going to do that. So let's put... Actually, no. Gotta make sure that we can wear all the armors, and then do that. And I have a specialization point. Normally at this point in the game, when you're first playing through the game, you would not have any of these unlocked. All of the specializations are things that you unlock in different ways throughout the game. Some of them are from getting to a certain level of friendship with different NPCs. Some of them are from certain quests. Some of them you find in different locations, that kind of thing. But since I have played the game before, that's one of the perks of playing more than once, is that the specializations that you have unlocked remain unlocked in your subsequent playthroughs. So that is why I have these here at the moment. So I could be an assassin, which is gives you abilities to use poison. It's more, I think it's more dagger oriented personally, but you know, it is what it is. Bard gives you additional willpower and cunning. It gives you some abilities to use sort of like group-wide buffs in battle, like songs that inspire your allies, that kind of thing. Ranger allows you to have wild beasts as pets. So there's that. And Duelist gives you bonus to dexterity and damage, and So I'm going to think about that. I'm not going to place that just yet. As a bow user, normally I would tend to use either of these, and I would generally go for Bard, but the one thing that gets me about Bard is that some of the abilities that are songs, one ability in particular that a certain party member that you get later on uses by default, the activation noise for it is her going, ah! And that's supposed to be her singing this song, and it's terrible, and I hate it. And so that is one reason why I tend to lean away from that. I know that there are ways that you can disable certain sounds, and I really should probably look into that, because I just, it makes me cringe. But, yeah, what the heck, we'll go with Bard. It's not the only ability that they have, and honestly, the specializations are best for what they give you. Actually, yeah, I'm rethinking that, because the specializations give you a few additional abilities, but they also give you bonuses, and so really the bonuses are a big part of what you're looking at. So this is a dexterity, constitution and nature resistance, and dexterity and damage per hit. I think I'll go with assassin this time. Bigger crit chance and more dex. Why not? And if I find that I hate it, I can just respec later. So Mark of Death is marks a target, and then anyone who attacks that target deals additional damage. So I think we'll go with that. Cool. And I'm going to put that over here and move that a little bit down. Okay, and this is locked and cannot be unlocked. When you see the little icon in silver, when it's gold, you can unlock it if you're a rogue, or have a rogue unlock it. When it's silver, means you need a key. You can't unlock it. So, and there's nothing else in here. So we move on our way. Find out what has become of Alistair.
See, here is your fellow Grey Warden. You worry too much, young man.
You're alive. I thought you were dead for sure.
No, I'm fine, but what of you? Are you all right?
Duncan's dead. The Grey Wardens. Even the King. They're all dead. Oh, this doesn't seem real. If it weren't for Morrigan's mother, we'd be dead on top of that tower.
Do not talk about me as if I am not present, lad.
I didn't mean... But what do we call you? You've never told us your name?
Names are pretty, but useless. The chastened folk call me Flemeth. I suppose it will do.
The Flemeth? From the legends? Daveth was right. You're the Witch of the Wilds, aren't you?
And what does that mean? I know a bit of magic, and it has served you both well, has it not?
If you're Flemeth, you must be very old and powerful.
Must I? Age and power are relative. It depends on who is asking. Compared to you, yes, on both counts.
Harsh.
Then why didn't you save Duncan? He was our leader.
I am sorry for your Duncan, but your grief must come later. In the dark shadows before you take vengeance, as my mother once said. Duty must come now. It has always been the Grey Warden's duty to unite the lands against the Blight. Or did that change when I wasn't looking?
The land is now so totally divided thanks to Loghain.
That doesn't make any sense. Why would he do it?
Now that is a good question. Men's hearts hold shadows darker than any tainted creature. Perhaps he believes the Blight is an army he can outmaneuver. Perhaps he does not see that the evil behind it is the true threat.
The archdemon.
What could a Tern hope to gain by betraying the king? I feel that as a noble, my character would lean towards some of these big picture questions about the nobility, so I'm gonna go with that one.
The throne? He's the Queen's father. Still, I can't see how he'll get away with murder.
You speak as if he would be the first king to gain his throne that way. Grow up, boy.
If Al-Eman knew what he did, he would never stand for it. The Landsmeet would never stand for it. There would be civil war.
I have to say, right at this moment, there's so much voice work in this game that I just love, but in this scene especially, Steve Valentine as Alistair, I think, is just amazing. The way that all of the things that he's saying, you can feel that like edge of tears, the edge of grief as he's speaking, for the fact that he's just lost everyone, and the whole tone of his voice resonates with it, and it's just so good. Anyway, Al-Eman, the Earl of Redcliffe, do you think he'd help us?
I suppose. Al-Eman wasn't at Ostagar. He still has all his men. And he was Kaelin's uncle. I know him. He's a good man, respected in the Landsmeet. Of course, we could go to Redcliffe and appeal to him for help.
Keep in mind that Loghain was also an honorable man.
The Arl would never do what Tairn Loghain did. I know him too well. I still don't know if Al-Eman's help would be enough. He can't defeat the Darkspawn horde by himself.
What about those treaties Flemeth gave us?
See? There is a smart lass.
Well, I tried.
Of course! The treaties! Grey Wardens can demand aid from dwarves, elves, mages, and other places. They're obligated to help us during a blight.
I may be old, but dwarves, elves, mages, this Al-Eman, and who knows what else. This sounds like an army to me.
So can we do this? Go to Redcliffe and these other places and build an army?
Do or do not. There is no try. Why not? Isn't that what Grey Wardens do?
So you are set then, ready to be Grey Wardens.
Yes, thank you for everything, Flemeth.
No, thank you. You are the Grey Wardens here, not I. Now, before you go, there is yet one more thing I can offer you.
The stew is bubbling, Mother dear. Shall we have 2 guests for the eve, or none?
The Grey Wardens are leaving shortly, girl. And you will be joining them.
Such a shame. What?
You heard me, girl.
What?
The last time I looked, you had ears. Ha ha!
Thank you, but if Morrigan doesn't wish to join us...
Her magic will be useful. Even better, she knows the wilds and how to get past the horde.
Have I no say in this?
You have been itching to get out of the wilds for years. Here is your chance. As for you, Wardens, consider this repayment for your lives.
Very well, we'll take her with us.
Not to look a gift horse in the mouth, but won't this add to our problems? Out of the wilds, she's an apostate.
If you do not wish help from us illegal mages, young man, perhaps I should have left you on that tower.
Point taken.
Mother, this is not how I wanted this. I'm not even ready.
You must be ready. Alone, these 2 must unite for Eldon against the Darkspawn. They need you, Morrigan. Without you, they will surely fail, and all will perish under the blight. Even I.
I understand.
And you, Wardens, do you understand? I give you that which I value above all in this world. I do this because you must succeed.
No pressure or anything. I understand.
Allow me to get my things, if you please. I am at your disposal, Grey Wardens. I suggest a village north of the wilds as our first destination. 'Tis not far, and you will find much you need there. Or, if you prefer, I shall simply be your silent guide. The choice is yours.
I do not believe that Morgan is capable of being a silent guide under any circumstances. So, I have no problems with your presence if Alistair doesn't.
From the way he glares, I imagine that answer is clear.
Do you really want to take her along because her mother says so?
We need all the help we can get.
I guess you're right. The Grey Wardens have always taken allies where they could find them.
I am so pleased to have your approval.
Actually, I have some questions.
I may have answers. Ask.
I always have some questions. Are you really Flemeth's daughter?
'Twas she who raised me, and thus I consider her my mother, born from her womb or not. 'Tis what you meant, yes?
It's just difficult to imagine her...
Young? Married? Pregnant? Who said she was any of these things? I certainly did not.
Well, okay then. Have you never been outside the wilds?
From time to time. I have been to the village I mentioned, watched its people, and pondered what curious beings they are. On occasion, I purchased goods from the village merchants. There I spoke with men a little. There they stared and knew me as an outsider. Mother wishes for me to expand the horizon of my experience beyond the wilds. Even she was not born here.
Is that what you want?
What I want is to see mountains. I wish to witness the ocean and step into its waters. I want to experience a city rather than see it in my mind. So, yes, this is what I want. Actually, leaving is harder than I thought, however. Perhaps Mother is right. It must simply be done quickly.
What skills do you have exactly?
I know a few spells, though I am nowhere near as powerful as Mother. I have also studied history and your Grey Warden treaties.
Can you cook?
I can cook, yes.
Never mind him. You don't have to cook. That's not true. Everyone has to take a turn. So, I'll tease her. Then you can substitute for Alistair.
Right, my cooking will kill us. That's all I meant.
I also know at least 15 different poisons that grow right here in this marsh. Not that I would suggest 'tis at all related to cooking.
Tell me about this village to the north.
'Tis a small place of little consequence called Lothering. No more than a stop along your imperial highway where travellers purchase goods from local farms and smiths. I would go more often were it not for the town's chantry. It makes the village particularly intolerant and unpleasant for a stranger such as me.
A chantry? And they never in all this time thought that maybe you were a witch?
Of course they have. They even called out their Templars once. They found nothing.
Is there any reason to go to Lothering, then?
I mention it for its tavern, where travellers gather with news from other places. 'Tis small enough that our appearance might go unnoticed.
Somehow I doubt
Beyond that, 'tis close, and I know the way.
How are we going to get past the Darkspawn?
The real question is how we are going to get your friend past the Darkspawn, is it not?
That's true. We can sense the Darkspawn. Conversely, they can sense us.
I don't sense any Darkspawn.
You won't right away. No. It takes time. We should be able to sneak past smaller groups, but larger ones, or particularly intelligent Darkspawn, will always detect us.
Mother has given me something else for them to smell instead as we pass by. 'Tis important we head out of the wilds, however, not farther in.
The Darkspawn are camped further in the forest.
They come from underground, like an eruption. They broke through deep within the forest, and that is where they will be most concentrated.
I have no more questions, for now.
Farewell, Mother. Do not forget the stew on the fire. I would hate to return to a burned-down hut.
Bah! 'Tis far more likely you will return to see this entire area, along with my hut, swallowed up by the blight.
All I meant was...
Yes, I know. Do try to have fun, dear.
Have fun, and maybe learn how to put on eyeshadow without getting across your entire face. Alright. Codex updated. What do we got? Oh, we got a whole bunch. Let's not do all these right now. We'll come and do a few at a time later on. I always say that, and then we don't, actually. Well, we'll read Duncan, then Kaylin's. How about that? Men and women from every race, warriors and mages, barbarians and kings, the Grey Wardens sacrificed everything to stem the tide of darkness, and prevailed. Like many others, Duncan gave up his family name when he joined the ranks of the Wardens, a symbolic gesture of cutting ties. He might say this was a convenience in his case, however. His mother was from the Anderfells, his father from Tevinter. His childhood was spent in the Free Marches and Orlais. His people were everywhere, and his homeland was nowhere. He was given the almost impossible task of leading the Wardens in Ferelden, a kingdom that had thrown the Order out 200 years earlier. Facing local suspicion and hostility, he set about finding recruits. He was killed in battle against overwhelming numbers of Darkspawn at Ostagar, alongside King Kaelin. The story of how Duncan became a Warden is in one of the novels based on the game, and it's very interesting to see the much younger Duncan in that story. Let's go with King Kaelin. I'd hoped for a war like in the tales, a king riding with the fabled Grey Wardens against a tainted god. Yeah, not the brightest thing ever said, but, you know, he had a good heart. Son of the legendary King Merrick Theron, Kaelin was the first Ferelden king born into a land free from foreign rule in 2 generations. Since his father's death, he's held the throne alongside his queen, Anora, who is Loghain's daughter. He fell in battle against alongside Duncan at Ostagar. Alas. Alright. So we have a bunch of quests now. Alistair can level up, so we will give him a little bit more Constitution and Cunning so he can get some more abilities. And... weapon and shield. Alright, we'll give him the bonus to defense. Okay, so now we have a witch in our party, a mage rather, and we can use that book that we got for mages, which is right here. There we go. And now Morrigan has a point to level up. Her specialization is Shapeshifter. I should have mentioned Alistair's was Templar, as he trained as a Templar. So Morrigan is a Shapeshifter and gets some really creepy abilities that I don't make use out of very much because they gross me out. She can turn into a giant spider. That would be the first one. She also can turn into a bear, a flying swarm of stinging insects, and then she gets the Master Shapeshifter, which is a passive that increases the power of the previous 3. But I tend to mainly use Morrigan as a debilitator, as a debuffer, more than anything. Just because she starts out with some abilities in that vein, and I sort of tend to stick to it. So we're going to go with weakness, because then that will lead us to paralyze, which is very handy. Mass paralysis is also really awesome. So we're going to go with that for now. Like I said, I tend to favor the kind of stuff that makes it so the bad guys can't hit me. I like that. Alright. We have talked to Flemeth. We have talked to Morrigan. We have reclaimed Alistair from his despondency, and we are going to make our way out of the forest to Lothering. Shall we gather our party and venture forth? Yes, I believe we shall. Now, if we were not playing Human Noble at this point, we would get a cutscene that would have the dog that we saved that we talked to the kennel master and helped save the Mabari hound that was ill. That Mabari would turn up and join us. But since we are noble and we already had our Mabari, he's already with us. Ooh, a cutscene in Denerim. What could be happening here?
And I expect each of you to supply these men. We must rebuild what was lost at Ostagar, and quickly. There are those who would take advantage of our weakened state if we let them. We must defeat this Darkspawn incursion, but we must do so sensibly and without hesitation.
Your lordship, if I might speak. You have declared yourself Queen Anora's regent, and claim we must unite under your banner for our own good. But what of the army lost at Ostagar? Your withdrawal was most fortuitous.
Everything I have done has been to secure Ferelden's independence. I have not shirked my duty to the throne, and neither will any of you!
The Banorn will not bow to you simply because you demand it.
Understand this. I will brook no threat to this nation from you or anyone.
Van Tegan, please!
Your Majesty, your father risks civil war. If Eamon were here...
Van Tegan, my father is doing what is best.
Did he also do what was best for your husband, Your Majesty?
Oh.
Wake up, gentlemen. More travelers to attend to. I'd guess the pretty one is the leader.
They don't look much like them others, you know. Maybe we should just let these ones pass.
Nonsense. Greetings, travelers.
Highwaymen, preying on those fleeing the Darkspawn, I suppose.
They are fools to get in our way. I say, teach them a lesson.
Now, is that any way to greet someone? A simple 10 silvers and you're free to move on.
That guy always reminds me a little bit of like a John Lovitz type SNL character. It's like, simple 10 silvers. But no, the previous cutscene with Loghain and Bantegan in Denerim gives a really interesting slice of what's going on elsewhere in the world. We saw Queen Anora for the first time, which was Kaelin's now widow. And in all the lore, it is pretty much implied that that she did care for him. They were promised to each other for many years, and all indications were that she genuinely cared for him, according to things that I've read anyway. Loghain is a very interesting character, and there's a lot of differing opinions on the situation of him withdrawing from Ostagar. There are people who, believe that, my first read on it, because of course I see it as that, we were there and he was supposed to do the thing and he took off, was betrayal. That he was, an evil villain who was like, haha, I shall take control by getting rid of all these enemies in one fell swoop, basically. But it can also be read as he looked at the battle, realized that it was unwinnable, and rather than send the rest of the troops in to die as well, took them back to Denerim to regroup and to cut their losses, basically. As very much a strategist and a tactician, he ran the numbers essentially and decided that was the best way to go. There's really no definitive answer on that. Because of other things that happened in the game, I tend to lean to the former, but it's more of a personal opinion. There's no real confirmation whether he's doing things for good or bad reasons. And he's in the novel The Stolen Throne is where he first meets up with the then Prince Merrick, and it shows them fighting against Orlais and repelling the Orlesian invasion, and all the things that they go through, and it shows, you know, his humble beginnings, and then, you know, coming up through the war, and how that changed him and how it didn't change him. And it shows that his driving force was always to protect the country, to save the nation, to, you know, defeat Orlais and get rid of them, to make everything be safe. And as we know from things that happen in the real world, there's always that trade-off between security and freedom. And he is more interested in being insular and protecting the nation rather than asking Orlais for help or anything like that, or depending on the Grey Wardens. He's very much closed in that sense. So a very interesting character. I like the fact that even though he's set up as sort of an antagonist here, he is not by any means a one-dimensional bad guy character. That's one of the reasons why I love the writing in the BioWare games, because most of the time the enemies are not just, you know, mustache twirling, tie you to the railroad tracks kind of villains. They have reasonable motivations for why they do things, and I like that. But anyway, here we are, having reached Lothering and meeting up with these kind gentlemen who wish to collect a fee from us. You should listen to your friend. We're not refugees.
What did I tell you? No wagons, and this one looks armed.
They all looked armed.
The toll applies to everyone, Henrik. That's why it's a toll, and not, say, a refugee tax.
Oh, right. Even if you're no refugee, you still gotta pay.
It reminds me a little bit of the Robin Hood Men in Tights scene. We're like, if we don't get no tolls, then we don't eat no rolls. Anyway, forget it. I'm not paying you.
Well, I can't say I'm pleased to hear that. We have rules, you know.
Right. We get to ransack your corpse then. Those are the rules.
Since we took the coercion abilities, we have the option to intimidate them. But I find it a little more fun to get rid of these ones. You can certainly try.
Well, this is going nowhere. Let's finish this, gents.
Shall we? So we have the bandit leader and his pals here, so we're going to mark him. And we're going to... Actually, I'm going to take out some of these others first.
Let's make this quick, shall we? Cross me and you shall pay! A little friend!
All right, we surrender.
I can see why!
We're just trying to get by before the dog spawn get us all.
Should have probably thought of that before you attacked us for 10 silver. Get by? You're a criminal.
Yes, I'm a criminal. I admit it. I apologize.
That's so sincere. Hand over everything you've stolen.
Yes, of course. The coins we collected are right here. Just over 100 silvers. The rest is in the chests we brought. I swear.
I want some questions answered.
Well, what could I tell you? We aren't even from these parts.
What exactly have you been doing?
Well, watching for folks fleeing from the south. Chasing from the wilds and farmholders, mostly. There aren't soldiers here anymore, so we help ourselves. We try not to hurt anyone too much.
Oh, well. What a prince. What's going on in Lothering?
It's packed full. The band took his men north with Teyrn Loghain, so there's no one looking out for it except a few Templars at the Chantry. Well, I was just trying to feed my family, you know?
Mm-hmm. Have you heard about any survivors from the battle?
Couple, maybe. A group of wounded ash warriors came by earlier. Got right out of their way.
Maybe you should have had that same good judgment. What news have you heard?
Everyone's saying how the Grey Wardens betrayed the king during the Darkspawn fight. Got him and themselves killed.
What?
Teyrn Loghain pulled out just in time. First thing he's doing as regent is putting a bounty on Grey Wardens.
Lies! I'm done asking questions.
Well, then let me go.
No, I'm turning you in to the authorities.
There aren't any. Just the Templars, and they'll execute me.
Well, you should have thought of that before you started being a criminal. They'll do what they must. Come with me.
I'm not going down without a fight.
That's what I figured, but that's okay. I never liked you anyway. That wasn't much of a fight, sir. The fight you weren't going down without.
Excellent!
Too easy.
It really was. That's the other reason I like to play on casual mode sometimes, is I get that feeling of being like, yeah, I'm a badass. So we've got some gear here that we're going to take from him. And we got him to give us the stuff that he stole, and we got to loot his body, so it's a win. Now we have a dead knight over here who is not one of them.
Right.
He has a locket and a note. So we have a new quest. A Fallen Templar. It gives us a note from Sir Heinrich. So, the quest... We found the body of a Templar slain by bandits. His corpse had been picked clean of everything except for a note and a locket. And all of his armor that he was still wearing, obviously. You know. Perhaps the locket will mean something to someone back in Lothering. And our codex entry related is a note from Sir Henrik. So many of my fellow knights have been searching for the urn. Surely one of them must have found Brother Genitivi by now. Still, until I hear that all is well, I must proceed as planned. Brother Genitivi holds the key to finding the urn of sacred ashes. We always knew this, but I believe I now know where Brother Genitivi lies. I have been to his home in Denerim and found the trail, and I am amazed that other knights have not done likewise. Unless they have? No, it's best not to get caught up in thoughts of conspiracy. Sir Donal awaits my report in Lothering. I must go to him immediately and report what I have learned. Should anyone find these ramblings, all I ask is that he be informed of my fate. I pray that he complete what I cannot. He's trying to find something. And wants his pal to be notified of his lack of life. Okay, we're gonna, I think, get far enough to have one more conversation here, and I think that's where we're gonna stop. So let's head into Lothering.
Well, there it is. Lothering. Pretty as a painting.
Ah, so you have finally decided to rejoin us, have you? Falling on your blade in grief seemed like too much trouble, I take it.
Rude.
Is my being upset so hard to understand? Have you never lost someone important to you? Just what would you do if your mother died?
Before or after I stopped laughing.
Right, very creepy. Forget I asked.
What did you want to talk about, Alistair?
His navel, I suspect. He certainly has been contemplating it for long enough.
Oh, I get it. This is the part where we're shocked to discover how you've never had a friend your entire life.
I can be friendly when I desire to. Alas, desiring to be more intelligent does not make it so.
Anyway, I thought we should talk about where we intend to go first.
They're so friendly. They get along so well, don't they? I need to look for Fergus, my brother, who, you know, was the only one that was not in the house when all the stuff went down in Highever. So I need to look for Fergus. He might still be alive.
He was out scouting in the wilds, wasn't he? That's what the king said.
Then attempting to look for him there would be foolish. He is either dead or he managed to flee to the north.
Very sensitive.
I am simply saying that it is foolish to mount a rescue when you have no notion where this man is and the wilds are overrun with darkspawn. You will either find him somewhere outside the wilds with other survivors, or not at all.
And that doesn't mean I shouldn't look for him.
That's exactly what it means. You wish to do this brother of yours a service? Avenge him. The time to look for survivors will come later.
I think what Flemeth suggested is the best idea. These treaties, have you looked at them?
No, not yet.
There are 3 main groups that we have treaties for. The Dalish Elves, the Dwarves of Orzammar, and the Circle of Magi. I also still think that Arleman is our best bet for help. We might even want to go to him first.
Is there a way to contact the Grey Wardens?
Short of leaving Ferelden to seek them out, the only place to send word to would be Weishaupt Fortress. And that's thousands of miles away.
What do you think we should do, Morrigan?
Go after your enemy directly. Find this man Loghain and kill him. The rest of this business with the treaties can then be done in safety.
Yes, he certainly wouldn't see that coming, and it's not like he has the advantage of an army and experience and...
I was asked for my opinion and I gave it. If your wish is to come up with reasons why something cannot be done, we will stand here until the Darkspawn are upon us.
Why are you leaving it up to me?
Well, I don't know where we should go. I'll do whatever you decide.
Now that is unsurprising.
Arleman is a good man, but I don't know for sure he's where we should go. I'm not going to fight about it.
Then we need to find these people.
I can give you directions, if you like.
Where do we find Arleman?
He'll be at Castle Redcliffe, in the far western part of Ferelden, next to the mountain passes. If he isn't there, someone will be able to tell us where he is.
Where will we find the Dalish Elves?
If we head eastward, towards the Brazilian forest, we should hear word of one of the clans that wanders that area. Hopefully they will still be there.
What about the dwarves?
We would need to speak to their king in Orzammar. That means heading west into the Frostback Mountains, which won't be easy.
And the Circle of Magi?
That will be at their tower on Lake Carlinhard to the north. We'll be looking for the first enchanter, whoever that is.
And then where would Loghain be exactly?
If he isn't out in the field with his army, he's probably going to be at the palace in Denerim. We can go to Denerim, but somehow I suspect that they're not going to let us just walk around. Only a suspicion, of course.
I don't need any more directions.
Then you have a plan.
I'm ready to get going.
Fair enough. Let's head into the village whenever you're ready.
Alright, so we have fought through the Battle of Ostagar, survived against all odds, talked to the famous Flemeth, the Witch of the Wilds, who we'll hear more about later. Her big legend is lots of fun and very interesting. So yeah, now that we're here in Lothering, we've got to a good place to stop here for the day. Next Monday, we'll get to the point where we are heading into Lothering, meeting people there, finding out what's going on in the rest of the world, and learning some more about this whole the Grey Wardens betrayed the king and got him killed nonsense. I don't know about all that. I think that's pretty messed up. So, thanks for hanging out and watching. And we will be back next Monday and look forward to seeing you then. Thanks. Bye.
Thanks for watching. To see more travel highlights of virtual destinations, don't forget to like and subscribe. And if there's a game location you'd like me to visit, tell me in the comments below. If you enjoy what I do, feel free to support me on Ko-fi.com or check out my travel stickers, postcards, and other designs on Redbubble. Links are in the description. Safe journeys, and see you next time on Travel Rebooted.